Welcome to another episode of Top 10 Detective, in which we investigate the top 10 economic predictions for 2024. Forecasting the outlook of the economy is a complex task due to several influencing factors that can change the course of a projectile at any time. But in this video, we will try to outline the outcome of the current projectile based on past factors. These predictions are as a result of our research looking into the data and extrapolating for the future outcome. After all, it is difficult to predict the future of the economy precisely as there are many live variables to consider and compile into an equation. On the other hand, as we look into the past data, a pattern emerges and enables to pave our way into the future. Number 10. Economic growth outlook. Anticipated economic deceleration in 2024. In the year ahead, the global economy is expected to undergo a soft landing, with the effects of monetary tightening taking a broader toll and the tailwinds from the post-pandemic period gradually fading. We project that real GDP growth will tread a fine line between slight expansion and contraction throughout the year, constituting what is commonly referred to as a soft landing. After exceeding expectations with 2.8% real GDP growth in 2023, we anticipate a more subdued pace of expansion at 0.7% in 2024. Key factors include the potential moderation of consumer spending and a shift in fiscal spending from a positive contributor to a modest drag. Despite the influence of higher interest rates, the groundwork laid in 2023, which saw declines in business investment and housing activity, suggests improved performance in 2024, albeit with a subdued outlook, particularly in the services sector. Number 9. Monetary policy. Pause in hiking cycle expected with Fed funds rate holding steady. Assuming a continued trajectory of moderating inflation in the coming quarters, it is likely that the Federal Open Market Committee, FOMC, will begin a gradual normalization of policy rates around the midpoint of next year. Our forecast includes 25 basis points cuts at each FOMC meeting, commencing in June, resulting in a year-end Fed funds target range of 400% to 4.25% for 2024. Simultaneously, we expect quantitative tightening, the Federal Reserve's balance sheet runoff program, to be maintained at the current pace throughout the year. This program, set at $95 billion per month, is projected to withdraw approximately $1 trillion from the economy in the coming year. Number 8. Consumer outlook. Resilience with signs of slowdown. Several factors point to a potential deceleration in consumer spending growth for the upcoming year. These include diminishing excess savings, stagnant wage gains, low savings rates, and reduced pent-up demand. Additionally, the resumption of student loan payments and an increase in subprime auto loans and millennial credit card delinquencies are emerging indicators of stress for certain consumers. On the positive side, household balance sheets and debt servicing levels remain healthy. Robust labor markets continue to support employment and income levels. Considering these conflicting currents, we expect consumer spending growth to remain positive in 2024, albeit at a slower rate than seen in 2023. Number 7. Fiscal policy. From boost to headwind. In 2023, the fiscal deficit doubled to $184 trillion, equivalent to 7.4% of GDP, compared to $950 billion in 2022. While this year's deficit expansion may not be classified as stimulus in the traditional sense, it is evident that the federal government collected significantly less revenue than it disbursed. Looking ahead to 2024, we anticipate a reduction in the federal deficit to 5.9% of GDP, though it will remain substantial. This reduction reflects a degree of expenditure restraint alongside increased interest payments on government debt. Number 6. Labor markets. Signs of normalization with potential unemployment uptick. The labor market has displayed signs of normalization toward the end of 2023, with slowing payroll growth, a slight rise in unemployment, and a decline in quit rates and temporary assistance. Over the past year, increased labor force participation and elevated immigration patterns have bolstered labor supply. A shorter work week suggests moderating demand for labor. Despite the challenges associated with adding and retaining workers post-pandemic, businesses may be more cautious about reducing their workforce in a slower economic environment. Nevertheless, reduced hiring activity could lead to a slight uptick in the unemployment rate, reaching the mid-4% range by the end of the next year, owing to worker turnover. With wage gains already slowing, further deceleration is anticipated in the context of a softer labor market. Number 5. Inflation. Cooling but expected to remain above Fed's target. Following a 4-decade high in 2022, both headline and core inflation have shown significant moderation in 2023. While some categories have experienced more pronounced improvements than others, core goods inflation, for instance, dropped from its peak of 12.4% in February 2022 to 0% in October 2023. Progress in core services inflation, which includes the persistent shelter category, has been slower. After peaking at 7.3% in February 2023, core services inflation remained at an elevated 5.5% in October 23. We anticipate the moderation of shelter inflation in 2024, as the lag in market rent pricing is expected to catch up in inflation readings. Our forecast for core PCE prices, the Federal Reserve's preferred inflation gauge, predicts a rise of 2.4% in 2024, down from 3.4% in 2023. Number 4. Housing sector. Recovery expected following a drop. The housing sector has seen a 30%-40% reduction in activity over the past 18 months, driven by a surge in mortgage rates. With housing affordability metrics reaching a 40-year low and 75% of mortgages locked in at 4% or lower, the U.S. housing market has effectively come to a standstill. Real residential investment experienced a 12% decline at a seasonally adjusted annual rate over the past 6 quarters. In contrast, home values have risen by 6% in 2023, nearing all-time highs amidst tight supply and historically low vacancy rates. Despite recent declines, the housing market could exhibit improved performance in 2024 compared to 2023, even as near-term trends remain subdued. Number 3. Supply chain. From bottlenecks to restructuring. In the last year, supply chain concerns have shifted from short-term tactics to longer-term strategies aimed at cost minimization and resilience. Legislation enacted in 2022, such as the CHIPS and Science Act and Inflation Reduction Act, has incentivized certain strategic industries, including semiconductors and renewables, to bring production onshore. This has resulted in increased business investments in high-tech manufacturing structures. On a larger scale, global supply chain adjustments are expected to proceed at a measured pace, as even minor changes are both expensive and intricate. Number 2. Commercial real estate. Increased pressure in 2024. The commercial real estate sector is expected to face heightened pressure in the coming year. The environment of higher interest rates, coupled with challenges among small and regional banks, has led to stricter lending standards and a deceleration in growth. While this tightening is observed across all loan types, it is most pronounced in the commercial real estate sector, where small and regional banks hold significant exposure. With nearly $550 billion of commercial real estate debt maturing over the next year, lenders and investors are bracing for mounting losses. While this is not expected to trigger systemic issues, reduced lending activity and potential investor losses could pose an economic headwind. Number 1. Geopolitical risks. Continued concerns and uncertainties. Elevated trade tensions with China, ongoing conflict in the Russia-Ukraine region, and turmoil in the Middle East underscore the persistence of geopolitical uncertainties and risks as we enter 2024. While the direct economic impact on the United States has remained limited thus far, the greater concern is the potential for a supply shock in critical commodities or goods, such as energy, food, or semiconductors, that could trigger significant market disruptions. The upcoming U.S. presidential election in the next year holds the potential to exert more significant influence on geopolitics, given the backdrop of already heightened tensions. In summary, the economic landscape for 2024 presents a complex interplay of factors, including fiscal and monetary policies, inflation trends, labor markets, and geopolitical uncertainties. While the world economy is expected to navigate a soft landing from the current monetary tightening cycle, global growth is projected to fall short of consensus expectations. Businesses are likely to remain cautious in their spending and investment decisions, although certain technological and societal trends will continue to drive innovation and investment in key areas. Thank you for watching, and we are looking forward to seeing you in another episode of Top 10 Detective soon.